Well, hello today. I just got back from visiting my grandson, Luca, and I feel pretty good. I've been thinking a lot about a bunch of stuff, and I want to talk to you today about upward forces. And notice I'm not going to say lifting forces or flipping forces. I'm going to say upward forces, forces that elevate mass, okay? Now let's just start with a simple demonstration. Here's my friend Wilson, right? And we know all about Wilson. He's about 14 pounds. Okay, when I hold him like this, my arm is relatively short. And, he weighs about 14 pounds. When I hold him out like this, he still weighs 14 pounds, okay? But the force that he's exerting on my shoulders and back is magnified by the length of my arm. That arm is a torque arm, okay? So any kind of upward force at the end of a torque arm is very difficult, okay? Very inefficient. That's why we prefer to use hooks. Okay, now what we found, of course, and we've talked about this enough times, is using two hooks makes you short, and mixing your hands, of course, you can use one hook, one hand as a stop sign or a stiff arm, and the other hand is a hook. And what we found, of course, is that your body, specifically your shoulders and hips, creates circular force which magnifies the hook, and the hook doesn't actually have to operate like a class 3. It can operate as simply a hook, and all the force is going to come from your core. I know people like to use that word core, but I want to talk about upward force again. Okay, I think everybody understands the difference between this and this. Okay, now let's talk about flipping. Okay, what flipping is, okay, let me show you my man Wilson here. Okay, or excuse me, my man Woody. Okay, Woody is supposed to be a defensive lineman, and what flipping is simply this. Instead of actually lifting him off the ground, we are elevating him using upward motion and using his feet as a fulcrum. Now, upward motion has its limits, okay? I can only lift something to my height. Okay, let me get over here a little bit. I can only lift something to my height. I can only flip something or someone to his height. Once I get him up, stood up, if I continue to try and flip him, okay, I have a problem. Because now, all of a sudden, the lever is working, it stops working, and now I'm talking about actually lifting him off the ground. And if he's, Woody's about 20 pounds, no big deal. If he's a 300-pounder, you got a problem. Now, the other issue is this. I've heard talk about how we want to get upward force by rolling our hips forward. Well, what that does is it turns us into the proverbial four-legged animal. And like it or not, we're not really lifting, because you can't lift something, you have to flip it. You can't lift something unless your feet are under you. So you're flipping it, and by flipping it and rolling your hips forward, you're caught. You're a bridge now. You're a four-legged animal. And as long as he cooperates and doesn't try to sling you, you can stay there all day. You can, whatever. Okay, but again, there's a limit to it. Okay, I can only elevate this guy so far. And it hurts my back just doing this. Okay, I don't understand how this could ever be construed as stable. Now, it does happen at times. Okay, but again, we think that it's a little bit easier to be condensed, where we're in more of a defensive mode and to flip like so, okay? And actually what we like to do is flip with one hand instead of two, but keeping our knees bent, okay, our hips do go forward, but they never go totally hyperextended where I'm leaning on the guy. I've got one foot holding me up, okay, see, one foot, and one foot holding me back. When I have both feet under me, I'm pretty strong. I mean, you know, you put 500 pounds on my back, I could probably stand there with it. I could stand there with it a lot longer than I could if I was condensed, okay? And I don't want to get into why, because if you don't understand why, you probably shouldn't be doing this. But when you take a guy and you say, I'm going to lean on him, you're susceptible. I mean, you got problems. You're going to get pulled, pushed. You can't fight all the forces that could happen. And when you put one foot under you and one foot behind you, okay, you're in good shape. When you're like this, you can get pushed or thrown. And we want him like this, okay, so that we can push him around or throw him. So the point being, upward force, because it has a limit, and the limit is physical, once we get this guy stood up, guess what we want to do? Either drive him, push him backwards, throw him, okay, defeat his stability, or a combination of the two, tear him, okay, and drag him. Now, I just want to make sure that everybody understands what I'm talking about, okay? Just think about this. Let's just say I got Wilson here, right? It's actually Gopher. Let's imagine Gopher is one of those Atlas balls, you know, those, let me get Woody out of the way here. Okay? Let's imagine he's one of those strongman Atlas balls, and he weighs 300 pounds, you know, Vince Wolf or 340, whatever. Okay? Now, picking him up, okay, is an upward force. He's off the ground. I'm supporting every pound of him, plus me, plus whatever force I can generate. But guess what? Mother Nature wants him back. So she's pulling down. So not only is he trying to catch his feet behind him and push me or sling me, but Mother Nature is pulling him down. So I'm fighting him and Mother Nature. Okay? Instead of doing that, okay, why don't I just roll him? Okay, roll him. Now I'm not fighting Mother Nature, I'm just fighting him. Okay, rolling is another way of flipping. Okay, if you can imagine a great big boulder, I'm flipping it over. Okay, if you have this chair, okay, it's laying on the ground. Let's just say it's a 300-pound chair. Okay, in order for me to get upward force and lift it, I got to lift for 300 pounds. Now imagine me running 5 yards with this 300-pound chair, and imagine if the 300-pound chair was fighting me back. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a lot easier to take one half, lift one half, stand it up, and flip it over. Okay? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. This is an opinion. This is simply fact. I don't know. I hate to use the word science, but it is. This thing is a lever. There's the fulcrum down on the floor. I'm pushing it. And when I push it a certain way, when I get 90 degrees on that thing, it's really very powerful. And once I stand it up, I just keep putting the 90 degrees. This is 90 degrees right here. 90 degrees. And again, when I'm condensed, I'm in a safer position. When I'm up like this, I can't fight as well. I can fight gravity very well, but I can't fight any push or throw. When I'm like this, I can fight the hell out of push, but gravity is against me, and throw, I'm going to get tossed on my head. Okay? So again, upward force elevates the mass of that opponent, okay, Woody or this chair or good old Wilson here, okay, upward force elevates the mass. But if the mass is too heavy, okay, like Wilson here is 14 pounds. Yeah, great. I can run with him. I can do whatever. Turn him into 300 pounds and see what I do. Not as easy. Okay? And when I straighten out my limbs, okay, number one, I can't generate 90 degrees of torque with my limbs straight like this. I can't generate 90 degrees at that angle. Okay, I have to make hooks to get 90 degrees. Okay, get the thing flipped up, then I can do what I want with it. Okay, because it's fighting gravity, it's not fighting torque, and it's not fighting push. All right, and we know that we can push with one hand, okay, and generate force through that torso, not just our arm. Okay, so I guess the point I'm trying to make is this. Upward force, whether you believe in lifting, and beliefs are great, I believe in God and I believe in Jesus, but facts are even better. Okay, and one thing I do believe in is gravity. And gravity is always going to be against you, no matter what you do. Okay, so just examine it. That's all I'm telling you to do. Examine what I'm saying. Let's get into a good mechanically advantaged position. Okay, and let me get old Woody here for a second. And Woody's got a t-shirt on. If I can put my force into him, okay, at 90 degrees, okay, you can see here 90 degrees, I'm in pretty good shape. And even if I can't, if he's playing me so long, and I can't get a hook in him. I can't get a hook in him. Okay, well I can get a hook in him with one hook, or I can easily throw him or torque him. So once I get him stood up, don't keep trying to elevate. Number one, you can't flip the guy anymore, he's done. Number two, if you decide to keep elevating and you lift him up, you're fighting gravity. Get him up into a defenseless position and then either throw him or shove him, drive him, drag him, or a combination of those two. Okay, always finish upward force. And I believe in upward force, okay? I used to call it lift. I'm kind of a little cockeyed here. I used to call it lift. Now I call it flip because I understand that I'm actually using him as a lever and I'm flipping him up. Okay, and I prefer to get him off stable and then flip him up with one hand and throw him like a garbage can or a hay bale. Okay, and I can get a pretty good throw out of that with one hand, or I can sling him like I'm a defensive lineman, okay, with two hands. And I don't know. I mean, give it a try. I can't tell you anything else. Okay, bye.